going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of MavAttack. It is time once again to enter the wasteland. Fallout 4, published and developed by Bethesda, is here, and I've gotten to put quite a bit of time into it, about around 100 hours, so I'm here to let you guys know if this game is worth surviving for, or if you should just become a little vault dweller and hide from this one. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, this is my Fallout 4 review. Please enjoy this one. Let's do this.
Story.
Alright, so just a little preface before we get into the story. You don't have to have played the previous Fallout games to get into Fallout 4 story. It is completely separate. It is on its own. The only thing that you're going to get are subtle nods to characters, brands, and events that you would have known if you would have played the previous Fallout games, but you don't have to play any of the previous Fallout games to jump into Fallout 4, and also subtle spoilers ahead, so I will leave a timestamp below. Get past the spoilers if you want to. So the story begins with you, the player, creating your own character, whether it be male or female, and getting ready to attend an event at the Veterans Hall because you are a war veteran, when all of a sudden a broadcast on the news announces an imminent nuclear attack, and everyone takes off in a panic. Your spouse takes your young son, and you set off for the vault just up around the corner from your house. As the bombs drop, you and your family are lowered down into the vault, and after a brief orientation are tricked into being cryogenically frozen inside of the vault. You're woken up out of your cryo sleep to witness strange people opening up your significant other's pod in front of you, who ends up inevitably being shot in the face, and your son is taken out of your spouse's arms. You then awake years later to find yourself in a wasteland, and you're on this mission, on the search for your son Sean. You travel from towns to swamps, cities to radiation zones in search of Sean. The story has you making big moral choices and ends with you inevitably choosing between factions or being independent for the better of the new world. The story doesn't scratch the surface as far as narratives go, however, the moments you do experience on your journey make the road well worth traveling.
Gameplay.
Fallout 4's gameplay isn't anything new from what we've seen since Fallout 3, however, an added touch of polish to animations and controls make the game fun to pick up and play. Shooting and fighting with melee feels great this time around, and a huge concern of mine was making the weapons similar to Fallout 3, where none of them really had much variation in the feel and how they function, but each weapon feels right in Fallout 4 and comes with its own uniqueness, especially with the more detailed and accessible mod system, which returns from Fallout New Vegas, allowing you to add modifications like suppressors or scopes to your guns, assuming you have the corresponding perk to craft them. Speaking of crafting, every single item in the game has its own use, and that was another concern of mine, and crafting is back in a whole new way with the ability to craft and customize settlements scattered throughout the world, throughout the wasteland, just settlements that you can go and claim as your own. It literally turns your Fallout into a base builder, allowing you to craft generators for lights and electronics to farms, houses, defenses, and much, much more. The perk system is back and can really change the way you play your game, with perks ranging from increasing stealth when crouched to perks that give you more inventory weight so you can carry more on your back without being over encumbered, and these points are granted to you every single time you level up. Now, leveling up is done through completing missions, defeating enemies, or even picking locks or hacking computers, which are done through simple mini games like spinning a bobby pin and a screwdriver to unlock a door, container, etc. There are many locations and secrets to find around the map, as well as enemies to encounter. There are super mutants, for example, who are these big, beefy, buffed up humans that have been mutated by the radiation that just tear your whole freaking life up. There's death claws make a return. There's freaking feral ghouls that make a return, which are freaking terrifying. Dialogue is also back and better than ever, with full voice acted dialogue and many dialogue options to select, with a large amount of NPCs scattered around the Boston setting. You can also gain buddies in the game and build relationships with them when you take them out on your adventures and you do things. The morality system makes a return, but not in a big way like you would think, like Fallout 3 New Vegas, where if you did something in the environment, it would impact the way everybody feels about you. That did not make a return, but if your buddies are along on missions with you, they will feel a certain type of way about you, whether they like something you do or they dislike something you do. That will affect your relationship with your buddy, which will then affect possibly getting a perk from the buddy if you max out your relationship with that person. The Fallout universe brings a lot to the table as far as gameplay goes, and there's a ton of stuff to do, so much so that you could easily get overwhelmed when jumping into this game for the first time. But as far as gameplay is concerned, there is tons to do in the game.
Things I like.
I really liked getting lost in the base building. There's some kind of charm about building up your settlements, building bases, having people working for you, having a thriving community of people working hard, and you can customize damn near everything. You can pick up trash off the ground and scrap it for use back into your structures. You can plant farms, you can make structures, you can set up defense turrets, you can do all different types of things all within your settlement, and you can have multiple settlements on the map. They can all be attacked by certain levels of mutants and creatures. It gets really in-depth, but the base building, you can get lost in building awesome big bases to bring all the good wasteland survivors in and have them thrive and live in your settlement. I really like that the open world is done right. Now, this is something that I was really making sure they did right with this game. I really wanted to come into here and say, you know, Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, I felt very lonely, which was good for the game setting, but it was a little too lonely. You would only run into a few people here and there, a few ghouls here and there. It just was so sparse, but in this game, it feels like there are always people out there trying to survive, whether it be in a city or traveling the road or in a bunker. I mean, shit, for example, I'm walking down a road, walking down a path, and I hear, doom, 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 help me! It's a little kid locked inside a refrigerator off of the road. That is how you do open world games. Diamond City and the other cities that are in the game, I really love the cities in the game. Large skyscrapers that you can climb up to the top of from the inside up, and super mutants will inhabit certain buildings and take over things. And then there's the more civilized towns like Diamond City. The game this time around, like I mentioned earlier, feels a lot less lonely. You feel like there's stuff going on around you, and even though the world felt a lot less lonely this time around, I still had this looming intimidation over my head with the game's just unpredictability, with all of these different places and events and things that happen. There's just so much that can happen. So even though you feel like you're safe, you feel like you're not alone, shit can get real. There are cool little mini games you can pop into your Pip-Boy and play for a second if you're about to leave or go do something. And if you have a smartphone, you can download the Fallout Pip-Boy app and actually access your in-game Pip-Boy from your Fallout app.
Things I dislike.
The frame drops are crazy when you go into big cities and stuff is going on. It is so bad. When you step into these big zones, you notice a frame drop immediately. It will go from 60 frames down to 15. There is no reason. It is 2015 and we should be running into massive frame drops like that. I understand that these games contain a lot of data and there's a lot of stuff going on, but why can't we just get a solid ass frame rate? And I noticed that when the frames drop, it doesn't just run choppy, but they actually slow the game down. So the game goes in slow motion as the frames drop, and it's just a weird system. I just don't understand why it does this, but it's 2015. Come on. Oh, and with that being said, bugs and glitches and bugs is a Bethesda game. You already know what the fuck it is. Bugs and glitches, and sometimes they break your game. They will break your game and have you revert back to a save that you saved 30 minutes before. You freaking tried to fight that dude in the bunker and you couldn't sneak past him, so you got shot by the turret. It's just not excusable anymore. I'm not excusing it. It's just bad. Overall, it's just a very dumbed down RPG. It has really swayed away from what it used to be in Fallout 1 and 2. Fallout 1 and 2 is way more about stats, making sure that you upgrade the right things, making sure that all your statistics are on point when you fight things, so you know you go into a battle and you know that you can either win or lose or put up a good fight. And this game does the opposite of that. It is a very ground level, basic ass RPG for any casual gamer to get into. Not that it's a bad thing for casual gamers, but this being a Fallout game, this being a Bethesda game, this being a open world role-playing game, it should have had a much more in-depth role-playing system, and it never had that. The graphics, now I know we're 2015, we're not like, oh, you're talking about graphics, but sometimes it's just not excusable. And not only are the graphics bad in the game, but they're just using a very old, outdated engine. A very outdated game engine. Some games would release, and I would see this on the internet, some games would release and they would look decent graphically, and people would just tear it a new one. But as soon as Fallout 4 comes out, Fallout 4 kind of is a little shy of the PlayStation 2, 3 is reaching, and nobody says a word about Fallout. Why is that? Because is it Fallout fanboyism? Or is it just hype that people, oh, I don't give a shit about graphics. Graphics don't make a game. Graphics do make a game. They make a huge part of the game. And it's just really sad to see an outdated engine and really low quality graphics. Now, I played on the PC, so I had the chance to actually download some mods and get some better graphics pumping out of my system. But to the PlayStation 4 owners, to the Xbox One owners, y'all gotta deal with this muddy PlayStation 2 badly textured world. It's just sad to see the graphics look so shitty, honestly. Overall, Fallout 4 is a game with charm, character, and replayability, and even though it's riddled with bugs, glitches that are sometimes game-breaking, like I said earlier, shallow RPG elements, and an obviously outdated freaking engine, its positives actually do outweigh its negatives, and it brings enough to hold its own and hit the mark with it being one of the best games of this year. But do I think that the game is worth your money? Definitely. If you're a fan of post-apocalyptic disaster settings, Bethesda games, or simply enjoy a shooter with light RPG elements which let you play your way the way you want to play, Fallout 4 will appeal to you in more ways than one and is without a doubt a solid contender for MavAttack's 2015 Game of the Year. But thank you guys all so much for watching this episode of MavAttack. If you found this review useful, please attack that like button. It helps me out tremendously. I want to thank you guys all so much for watching. All you He-Man stay rad, and all you She-Man stay fab, and I'll see you all on the next episode of MavAttack. When you're getting ready to shoot the video, hiya, hiya, I'm going to